I'm Bambi Francisco with this segment of Lessons for Entrepreneurs, and I'm speaking with Drew Curtis. He is the founder of Fark.com, an aggregator of strange and humorous news. And Drew, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So we have this segment for the entrepreneurs watching Vader. They're always looking for advice, and so I always ask the entrepreneurs that come by, what are your 3 pieces of advice, words of wisdom for the community?
Well, one of the ones that I followed kind of by accident, but it worked out, is hold on to your equity as long as possible. It would be a really good idea to make sure, if you could get your concept proven first out of the gate, getting actual VC, I would think, would be easier. I live in Kentucky, though, so I don't know. I'm just guessing. The other thing I would say is...
You didn't have any choice. You just didn't take VC money.
No. Well,
they weren't
also,
there.
too, we started getting kind of big in 2001, so there was really no way we could. It wasn't
That's
around.
True.
Everybody was busy being bankrupt and whatnot.
Yeah.
So. But the second thing I would say is that once you get something going on, like and to give you an example, I gave this advice to Guy Kawasaki, who worked on who did a site after he and I had a conversation about how Fark came about, called Trimmers, which is basically a user-generated site where you could submit rumors and then I guess talk about them or whatnot.
That was his site, right?
Yeah,
is
his
still
site.
Around?
Yeah,
okay.
Yep, still around. And I think he's got something like 40,000 uniques, and I don't remember if that was per month or per day or whatnot. But he was talking to me. It's been up for about a year now, and he was saying, God, it doesn't seem all that well. I was like, that's better than we did our first year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. All he has to do to succeed is just keep going.
Just keep going.
Don't turn it off. Just let it just keep cranking right along. And because it takes time for people to find out something and basically tell their friends. I mean, we read all the time in the papers about, YouTubes and, the Facebooks and whatever that seemingly exploded overnight, but in reality, that only happens once in a blue moon.
Right, but as long as you can you cover your burn and
Yes.
you don't spend too much and stay lean, you'll be fine.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly what I'd say.
Any other pieces of advice about building your platform or creating a community, engaging the user?
I would say also, especially with building the platform, you don't really want to throw money at a problem. I noticed this. I was talking to a friend of mine who worked for egg.com, which is in, or maybe it's Egg Co. UK out in England. But we were discussing traffic and servers and whatnot. And he was saying to me that apparently Egg at the time, and this was a few years ago, had something like 1/20th of the traffic that Fark had, but about 20 times the servers.
Okay.
And he's like, how did that happen? I said, well, probably you guys had money to throw at a problem, so anytime you hit a bottleneck, you just got more servers and whatnot. And I would recommend trying to retool as much as possible first, and that you can save a lot of money in the long run by doing that.
Okay. So then, before I ask that question, what about setbacks or failures? Anything along the way, bumps along the way?
Failures are extremely valuable.
And so can you share some?
Well, actually, most of the failures I had happened in my first business.
Okay.
It was basically not paying attention to the market changing, trying to push it too hard, grow as fast as possible.
Putting too much money behind it?
No, I ran an ISP, and it was based in Central Kentucky. And we were trying to expand out. Central Kentucky, I mean, where we're Frankfort, Kentucky, 60,000 people. So we're not talking like a huge user base or anything like that. But then not too much farther down the road is Lexington and Louisville, which is 400,000 and 1.6 million, respectively. Trying to get access to those markets, we burned ourselves up pushing the company too hard, trying to get out there. And part of it was that we pushed it to the absolute wall, the limit of what it could possibly take, to the point where when all of a sudden growth leveled off, we were stuck.
Yeah.
But the second thing, we didn't realize market conditions had changed once Bell's companies moved into the game, and so not paying attention to what's going on. For example, a very important piece of information I would pass along is that recently, over the last couple of months, I'm in contact with a bunch of other people that run smaller sites, and they have said that their Google AdSense revenues are suddenly cratering out of nowhere. Now, what does that mean? Maybe that people aren't buying, maybe Google's not paying out that much, but considering the kind of economy we're moving into, that could be a warning sign. People may want to stand up and take notice of that and not assume that things are going to stay the same for the next several months coming.
Plus, you were running an ISP, now you're running a comedic site aggregation of, I mean, you were, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're doing something that you're passionate about today, and so that can carry you.
Yes, it makes a big difference, definitely. But at the same time, too, in order to motivate people working under you, it definitely helps if you like what you're doing.
So just briefly, I think you already touched this. What would you share to a first-time entrepreneur, or maybe even other companies who are trying to build a site like yours, but don't know how to go about it, and you did it again by yourself. You managed to create this 60 million page view per month entity. So what would you say to somebody who's trying to do that? I know it's kind of tough
Well, one of the reasons that it ended up being the case that we could basically keep so few people working on this thing is that it's something that was passed on to me by my head tech guy that I kind of adopted as well, as a concept of automate absolutely everything. If you can do it, do it. Automate everything. Don't hire people to do stuff manually. If you can make something an automated process, then do it. And the easier, the better. Make it clean, make it simple. Even as down to, like, for example, back in the day when we were doing the ISP, he was with me as well. He would spend hours basically tying little ties around the cables, making sure they were all organized. This guy lived in a dump, basically. I mean, this guy was the messiest guy you ever saw in your life, but when it came to this stuff, he was really meticulous at getting this all put together. And I asked him why that was, and he's like, well, if you ever have to change it or grow, this is going to be really important in the long run. And he learned that the hard way. I used to code all the time. I learned that the hard way, too. Keep backups, indent your code, make comments because you're going to forget, that kind of stuff. Keep everything as simple as possible.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, it looks like you've kept it simple, and you're definitely successful. So, thanks so much for sharing.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. I've been speaking with Drew Curtis. He's the founder of Fark.com. I'm Bambi Francisco.